What's going on, everybody? I'm Nick.
And I'm Joe.
And we're Nick and Joe. Welcome back to a new episode of the K-Drama Club, where we are currently talking about the K-Drama
Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha.
Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha. If you've been watching along with us, you know that we are on episodes
9 and 10?
9 and 10.
Wow.
So welcome. But before we get too deep into it, if you're new here, we're two friends.
Two friends.
We like K-pop. We like K-dramas. And we like making YouTube videos about those things.
Whenever we feel like it.
So if you like those things, make sure you subscribe and turn the notifications on so you don't miss a future video. Like I said, we're on episodes 9 and 10. So if you are just catching up on the series, we are watching along with it live. Maybe you're watching a little bit later. Go back, check out some of our previous episodes and watch along with us. We've also reacted to a couple other K-dramas, and we have lots of K-pop reactions on our channel too. Something you'll like, I'm sure. But we're here to talk about episodes 9 and 10 of Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha becoming one of my favorite dramas.
Yes. I think my favorite thing about this drama compared to others is that this drama doesn't rip your heart out like other ones do, I feel like, where...
It hasn't yet.
Yeah, exactly. There's tension in this show and you're not really 100% sure what's going to happen, but it doesn't drag you this way then that way, and
it gets resolved fairly quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't make you think one thing is happening and then totally switch it up on you.
Yeah.
I feel like it's pretty consistent, and there are factors at play that kind of are pulling the characters in different directions, but it's never I am generally happy when I'm watching this show. For sure. For the most part. There are emotional scenes and times where I'm oh God, no. But I am overall I'm enjoying it in a very upbeat kind of happier way, I would say. Yeah.
And even though there have been some darker, really intense moments, those moments last not that long before something funny happens, or somebody intervenes and somebody does something funny, or somebody swoops into rescue, which we'll talk about in the in this episode, of course. But yeah, to kick things off, Hyejin and Dushik, their relationship is evolving.
It's evolving more quickly than I expected.
For sure.
Yeah.
She ran into his arms last we saw her, and they had that moment in the alleyway. But did they say anything to each other? Did they say, I like you, you like me? No. They just keep it awkward for a little while.
Yeah, of course. And it's kind of funny because she's running because she thinks that she's being chased by the guy who's the predator kind of guy, and it's just a guy trying to give her phone back. Yeah. He's oh, you guys keep doing whatever you were doing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And of course it becomes the talk of the neighborhood.
Exactly.
They hear that, oh, they were in an embrace in the alleyway.
Exactly.
But a big inciting incident here is, guess who has arrived in town?
Oh,
Hyejin's parents. Which puts them in quite the predicament because they have to somehow explain the relationship, why Dushik is in the house, who is he? Yeah. And of course, thinking on his feet, he says, yes, I'm her boyfriend.
Exactly. So they have to go through the whole day pretending that he's the boyfriend, and when the other guy, the director, when he hears about this, he
says, oh boy,
I need to impress the parents way more.
Exactly, and he had an advantage because Dushik did not make a good first impression on the father. From the moment that they met at the gas station.
Yeah. Speaking very informally.
But it also seems like her father is a stickler anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought it was funny, that whole dynamic where there's these two guys, and there's one that she actually likes, and there's just one that she considers a friend from her past, and the friend from her past is the guy that her father is very much he's very formal, he's very successful, comes from a big family, all this stuff, and the one that she actually likes is the one who is more lives life however he wants, kind of free, speaks to him in that way and all that kind of stuff. Yes. And he did not really like him at first. But I think that that episode, I really liked it, just how it just was this constant evolution of evolution's relationship.
Right.
So it's the father and her and the stepmom, Dushik and the father, Dushik and her, everybody's related. I feel like you were learning so much about all these different characters all at the same time.
And I thought it was going to go the direction of becoming a thing where that's the plot for the rest of the series, where the father is just not approving of Dushik, and that's going to be the main conflict. But as we saw the events unfold, it was not quite the main conflict.
Yeah. And he actually at the end tells she could find a good guy someday, and it could even be you.
Exactly.
And I think...
but what's interesting is so Hyejin obviously plays along with this whole situation, and she in playing along with it and trying to convince her father, she ends up sticking up for Dushik a lot.
Yeah.
Like saying like a lot of good things about him. And I think that is playing into like her realizing all these things and her also just wanting to be against her father in general.
Because they like butt heads.
Yes, they butt heads because they're very much alike, which Dushik points out. The father arriving in Gongchin is very much like she was when she first arrived to the town. Like he has he's like, everybody in this town is weird. What's up with this place?
Yeah.
He's kind of criticizing everything, but he has to be won over. But Dushik doesn't. He's funny and like I guess charming, and I don't think he really knew how to deal with this type of like father figure. So things get kind of serious.
Exactly.
Beats him at Go. That's a big faux pas.
Yeah, big faux pas.
Yeah.
He even beats him and then lets him take the move back and then still beats him after that.
Exactly. And he's just not feeling good about it.
Yeah.
The father is pouting. And he's like coming at him for pouting too.
He's like, come on, you just lost the game. Like, but I think that he says like his philosophy where he like treats people that way in life. Like he treats everyone like they're close to him. But I think part of that we learn in the episode where he's like, we learned that when he went to Seoul, he was going to see like a psychiatrist kind of person.
Not a terminal illness like I thought.
Exactly. It was sees it's like some sort of psychiatrist, therapist kind of situation. And so it's funny that he treats everyone in his life as if they're like super close to him. But I think that's almost like a defense mechanism for not feeling close to anyone.
Right.
So like he does that to make it seem like, oh, everything's great. I like love everybody and everything. But in reality, he feels like he has nobody.
Right.
And he feels like the reason that he has nobody is like himself. Like he somehow brings like death to the people that are close to him.
He blames himself for his parents' death, his grandfather's death, and all that.
Yeah. So he's like overcompensating by like being super like outward and friendly and like being like, oh, look at all these people I love and all these friends I have and everything. And I think it's kind of funny that the one person that he actually wants to be close to him is the person that he is like the most like sarcastic and cold and like pushing away.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of like indicative, like super indicative about like his true feelings towards her.
Yes, which he let slip when they had that drunk night and he was like crying saying don't leave. So that gives us a little context into that moment.
And that was like one of the first like moments that he was like serious with her. I feel like he's always kind of like on guard, like guarded a little bit. Like with everyone, he's not guarded at all.
Yes.
But with her, he's very like, every time she says anything, it's always like some sort of like snarky. Exactly. It's very guarded.
Yeah. So their relationship is obviously like it's a weird place in the beginning of these two episodes because they're pretending to be boyfriend girlfriend. The whole town is in on it, which is like a funny situation in general. But I think what happens is, well, first of all, Dushik knows that the director likes her. Yeah. So now that he's playing the boyfriend part, he's like kind of like reveling in it. And I think at one point he might have just like stepped aside for the director, but I think in playing out this, he is realizing that, oh, I have this opportunity, like I'm going to take it. Yeah. And I think one of the most important relationships we learn about is the relationship with her, Hyejin, and her father. Yeah. Because he's a very stern man, very harsh, very guarded, it seems. The stepmom is like very like funny. It's not like a scary, weird situation because the stepmom provides a lot of like levity and like
she's like Dushik a lot.
Yeah. And so we find out that Hyejin's father, after the loss of Hyejin's mother, turned to alcohol, and she basically had to take care of herself. Yeah. And it seems like he is harboring some like guilt and shame with that. It seems like shame in general is like a big thing for him in how he treats Dushik, which we'll talk about in a minute. But he, but puts off that he's like disapproving of everything and that he doesn't care. He wants to come off like he doesn't care. Like even when he arrives, he says like, "Oh, I didn't really want to come here." Exactly. And the stepmom is like, "Yes, you did."
Yeah,
what are you talking about? And then he brings her flowers, and it's like turns out they stopped at 7 flower shops so he could find just the right meaningful flower. So he's like putting a huge guard up. And like that is like providing like it's making it a very tense situation for her and her father.
Well, I think that like she feels like he for some reason like doesn't like love her that much or like doesn't like approve of her decisions or like appreciate her in some way. But in reality, I think like this is actually kind of a very like honest take on like a father-daughter relationship. I feel like because I feel like with parents who feel like that they've made mistakes in the past, it's like you almost feel like it's like, okay, I love my child a lot, but I feel like disingenuous, like going to them and like showing them tons of love and being like, oh, I love you, because they have that sort of like regret from the past, and they feel like their child like doesn't want that or need that from them because they didn't get it from them like when they were kids.
Right.
So like I feel like that's kind of like a very like realistic like take on that kind of relationship, where he like loves her a lot and he talks about her all the time to like his friends and his new wife and everything, but he is kind of afraid to like come to her, and like because he doesn't feel like maybe like those feelings would be like reciprocated or something.
Right.
Like they are acting this way towards each other because they feel like that's how the other person feels. So it's this kind of like,
they're just playing the parts.
exactly.
You know?
It's like it's almost like just like a misunderstanding where they
Yes.
both are acting like they don't care because they feel like the other person doesn't care and they don't want to like come on too strong or something.
Right. But we see a lot of growth from him just in this one episode, keeping it moving, like as this drama does, because, you know, he's super disapproving of Dushik. You know, he doesn't have a job, quote unquote, and like he speaks informally. And then yes, the big blowout is around him being like an orphan, which I never thought of something that could be like
Bad or like,
shameful, you know. But he has this immediate reaction to it, like basically he gets up, Dushik leaves and goes to the bathroom so they can have this candid private conversation, and the father's like, you need to break up with him, it's only been 3 months, you're not that close yet, I don't want that like shame on our family. And then Hyejin hits him with the, well, I have shame too. Well, it's not like shame, but she puts it a certain way. She's like saying like
I'm the same and I'm similar in a way because I lost my mom, like kind of thing.
Basically saying like if you think it's not cool to like be an orphan, like I have divorced, like I lost a parent and my dad remarried, so what do you think about that? And that's like big blowout. He storms off. She's able to have like a moment with a stepmom, which it seems like they have a pretty good relationship. I thought at first they would set up like a, you know, typical stepmom relationship where they're at odds, but they're not really.
I think that they are though.
There's some unspoken stuff.
They don't really go that deep into that relationship, but I feel like she resents her stepmom and always has, just by kind of the way they interact, and like her giving her stepmom like that piece of candy like was like a huge gesture for the stepmom, just to show that she like cared about her a little bit. And even like going back a few episodes when she was talking to Trudy and she was like, oh, and the little girl was like, oh, if my dad found a girlfriend, I would support him. Like I want him to be happy. Well, and then Hyejin says like, oh, you're a better person than I am. So I think that there is like
they've always had a tense little relationship.
So I don't think she probably like talks to or communicates well with her stepmom, I would imagine, extremely often. But
Dushik and the father have a very deep conversation though.
And like I think it's like Dushik is just a very like understanding character, and like
he overheard the whole conversation, but he wasn't like, F these people, I'm out of here.
And I just think he just has a different outlook on life than a lot of people. So I thought he always like takes the high road, I guess. He's a very like always like standing on higher ground and just doesn't take things that happen personally. And it's all comes back to what he says is his philosophy. That's his philosophy.
And he basically turns the father. So the father is like realizes like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, and that's not the right thing. And they kind of come to terms, and he actually likes him. Like Dushik says, like, you know, she deserves somebody great. Like she deserves the world, basically. And the father says, well, that could be you. And that's like a moment for him, for Dushik, I think, to realize like, oh, maybe I like do deserve her.
Or like I am like
worthy.
Worthy of just, I don't even think it's just like her, it's just like in general, like having a family, like having like people who like he loves around him and stuff like that. But this all moves on to the director guy. We learn a lot about like him and Hyejin's past relationship. Basically, like he's been in love with her for years, like when they were younger in college. But one of his friends from high school was dating her. Not
wrong
a good
place,
guy.
wrong time.
Place, wrong. He always missed his chance. He was always too late. Too late. So through all this stuff going on with Dushik, he decides like he has to go back to Seoul for the week. But he's like driving and he calls her and says like, oh, I'm going back to Seoul, but I always want to meet with you because I have something to tell you when I get back. She's like, okay. And then he decides like, oh, I don't want to be too late again. So he like turns around and goes back.
Make his move.
But it's funny because like Dushik it seems like he's having some sort of realization at the same exact time when he's walking, and like so it shows them like they're both going, and in my head at that time I was like, okay, they're gonna get there like at the same time, or it's like they're like playing up the tension, like who's gonna get there first to talk to her, and like I was thinking like that's gonna be the director guy, like he's gonna get there first, and because like it's just like some more added tension to the show or something. But who actually got there first
was a bad guy. The Predator.
And this was like, I think I audibly said no out loud.
I couldn't believe they did not set it up. Like I did not think that was what was going to happen.
Yeah. And like I think like when she like went to shut the door and then he like opened the door and like came in with the knife, I think I was like, oh God, no.
Yeah, like
out loud.
Jeez. Yeah. But Dushik comes and saves the day.
Saves the day.
He was already on his way. He's got amazing martial arts moves, but turns his back to the guy with the knife.
Yeah, I would have taken him a little bit, but I would have been a little bit more careful about the guy with the knife.
Yes, but no worries because he just gets a flesh wound on his arm, gets a little slice, and then they beat him up, and the police come take him away. And then this moment is really, I think, like the turning point for them in their relationship because she's like, holy shit, this guy just like jumped in front of a knife for me, you know? Like, and she like kind of breaks down crying in the hospital. Like, it's just this crazy experience that they had together, and that she sees him a certain way, and like now she's like having this realization. And of course, our friend the director was on his way, shows up, there's a bunch of cop cars, but finds himself at the hospital where he sees Hyejin and Dushik just rescued her, and they were like, what's he gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. So he knows, and like the problem is like I think like it's kind of I think it's good like in that moment it's like you want to say the things you want to say, but he knows like now's not the time.
Right.
So like he just kind of like backs away, and like Dushik always with that like smug kind of like attitude towards him a little bit, because I think like they all know like the direction of this kind of situation. It's like pretty up in the air, but I think like everybody can feel like the way it's going, which is why I think like Dushik doesn't feel as like urgent to say what he has to say, whereas the director feels like it's super urgent because he feels like it's like slipping away.
Yes.
Whereas Dushik doesn't have that like slipping away feeling. Like I feel like for Dushik and Hyejin, and it's like coming closer for them. Yeah. So they don't have like that sense of like.
And I also think Dushik is the kind of guy, if it did slip away, he would go live his life.
Exactly. And like he would probably, it's probably the kind of thing like he would probably have like some regrets or like be sad about it or whatever.
He'd write it off as like, you know, I didn't deserve it. Or
like if I even was with her, like she would end up getting hurt in some way. Right. Like he like has that feeling about himself. Yeah. So he was like, oh, she's probably better off like without all that.
So the director is down bad.
He's down bad, and he finally does get to meet up with her a little bit later.
Yes, they plan a dinner together, and he.
Well, he waits outside her house.
Oh yeah, true. And then, after she just already ate, because she goes to Dushik's grandfather's memorial. How are you going to invite somebody to dinner after they just had a home meal? How are you going to say yes to going to dinner after you just had a home meal?
Your friend says, hey, like, can we go out to eat now? Like, you'd probably be like, yeah, sure, I'll go sit with you.
Yeah, you eat and I'll sit?
Yeah, whatever, why not?
Fine.
And he seemed a little like, like he had something to say, and he had told her previously, like, hey, I have something I want to talk about. But for some reason, she like acted like she could not see this coming at all. Like she
thinks he needs money.
Yeah, this was like totally blindsided her, which was kind of funny. Like
she's
little.
Is she naive or is she playing dumb? Who can say?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. But but he confesses his feelings, and she
doesn't say
much, which I think is all the answer that he needs right there. But this turns into like a lot of drama with her and her friend. We'll talk about her friend's situation after we're done with like this part. But so they decide like, oh, let's go to Seoul. But when they go to Seoul to like go shopping and everything, like her friend's like having a great time, and all she's doing is like looking at men's clothes, thinking about Dushik, like, oh, the food here is not as good as the food in Gyeongjin, like, oh, like all this stuff.
After she talked so much smack about Gyeongjin from coming from Seoul, now she wants to basically live over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Forever. And
then she has like her moment of realization is like that. She walks out, it starts raining, and then they have to walk to their car in the parking lot, and they don't have an umbrella, and she's like, oh, let's just walk to the car, and her friend's like, what, are you crazy? You hate getting wet.
Yes.
And then she like walks in the rain.
Big flashback
to her and Dushik in the rain, and like she thinks about all the memories, and she's like, I gotta go back right now. But little does she know that same day, Dushik had his realization spurred by the grandmother figure who told him like,
Finally she tells him.
She tells him like, you like the dentist. Yes. What are you waiting for?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
And I think like she frames it like, I'm old. You think life goes by really slow, but it doesn't. Like, like things happen faster than you think. Yeah. If there's something that you want to do in life, like you shouldn't like waste your time or wait. And in that moment, like he didn't say anything. He
Right.
just like stood there. And I think that they were both coming to these realizations at like the same time.
Yes. And enough so that she just leaves her friend in the rain.
And she goes back, and they finally have like their moment, and she's just like
Kiss on the lips.
kiss on the lips, and it was so bad. He like kisses her, and then he backs up, and he's like, oh, I don't know, or like something like it makes it seem like he's gonna be like, I like you, but I don't think we should do this because
Yes, I know.
people close to him, like he was gonna do something, but then he was like, "Nah, I like you. Let's." Like,
Yes,
like
it was a big tease.
He's like,
the way he said the
you know,
line.
he said, "I can't," and then
Yes.
he's like, "Hold my feelings in any longer."
Exactly.
Yeah.
They did that on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. They did the subtitles like that on purpose.
Yes.
Because I was saying during the episodes, like, because it's in Korean and the subtitles are in English, we miss a lot of like the dramatic timing of like the phrasing and stuff. And it's just because we just get the subtitle and you can read the whole thing like before they're even done talking. So
it's like reversed order, so like the
Yeah,
reveal
so-
comes first.
Yeah, exactly. So like we
It's not the same.
we miss a little bit of the dramatic timing, but in that scene we like finally got like the subtitle was like, I can't ... and then we're like, oh God, and he was like, hold my feelings back any longer either, and you're like, oh God, okay, thank you.
Well, these two girls, as we say, are in kind of similar but opposite situations.
Yeah.
Where Hyejin's friend is just confessing her love to the police officer, and he's like, I'm old-fashioned.
I'm old-fashioned.
I don't move that
We need to know each other for 10 years before I can go on a date with you.
Yes, which
Like,
completely embarrasses her and has her down bad.
Yeah.
And then obviously Hyejin is like, he doesn't want to say what her feelings are.
Yeah.
But the girls come together and they're having that very funny conversation where they're giving each other the advice that they each need to hear.
Yeah.
And it's just funny, and they decide to go shopping.
It's like giving advice to yourself.
Yeah.
But
the cop made big moves.
he made big moves, and he was gonna make I think he was about to like tell her like, oh, I want to date you. Like,
Yes.
And she kind of like shuts it down because she's afraid of how strong her feelings are.
Yes.
Like I have this feeling that she's been in like very like shallow relationships, I guess, and like just like very quick, like kind of like flings a lot, and she's scared of like something.
Yes.
Like feeling more than that.
Her heart is bursting for him.
Yeah, so
she already faced a little bit of rejection the way he treated it.
And I think that she makes it seem like she's like giving space so that he doesn't have to feel uncomfortable, when in reality like she feels uncomfortable with like how like strongly she feels, I guess, and she doesn't want to have to like deal with that, because you know, with love comes pain.
Of course.
You know,
as we see in these K-dramas every time.
as you know.
Speaking of love and pain, our other B plot over here on the side, a love triangle, which is not really a love triangle,
It's
between
it's like no love anywhere.
yeah, between Hyejin's landlord and her ex-husband and the teacher.
Yeah.
And the teacher does not want to be with him. She makes it very clear.
him down.
She says, I am not romantically interested in you. And we find out a little bit about her because she's a little bit lonely. You know, her family, some of her family moved to the U.S., and she's basically the only one left.
Yeah, like
Korea.
her mother had passed away, and that's why she came back to Kongjin, because she like ran out of family, and she was like, I'll just go back to where I had friends when I was younger.
Right.
But as it turns out, it wasn't what she thought or expected that it was going to be. But I do think that those two women, the landlord woman and her, they're going to be like best friends again by the end, like within the next few episodes.
Or maybe they'll all be friends again.
Yeah.
Like maybe he gets over all this crap. Like his growth, he needs to have some kind of growth because he's still like acting like
he's missing something.
Yeah.
Because she's like saying like that he is under the impression that she divorced him because he took off his socks inside out.
right. Yeah.
But in reality, she's saying like, okay, you can live your life pretending not to know like why I divorced you. So she doesn't want to tell him. I think he needs to come to his own realization about like something that happened in the past.
Yeah.
For their relationship to kind of mend.
Yes.
And I think that at some point there will be some sort of like discussion, or he'll just have some sort of like memory or something, and he'll realize like the way, like how he was acting in some way, or maybe like she knew that he was in love with this other girl that whole time, or like he will kind of come to some realization, and maybe the three of them can like be friends like they were in the past.
The last episode, we'll see a shot of them eating at a restaurant or like drinking together and laughing, having a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's how that will
Yeah.
probably all get resolved.
Yeah, I just wonder like when he's going. I think that he's not doing any like reflecting, if that makes sense. Like he's focused on how other people are treating him, and not like his own like faults or like what he might have done wrong, or like anything like that. He's just not a very reflective person. I don't think he just takes people for like at their word, and like doesn't think deeper than that. So I'm sure like he was like, oh, why did you divorce me? And she's like, oh, she was just probably like mad and was like, you took your socks off inside out, like, just like to get, and then he just like was like, oh, that's a weird reason. Like,
so we have to circle back to an honorable mention with the director. There's like little hints of his producer or assistant director likes him.
Yes.
We don't know what's going to come up.
Yeah, exactly. Like I actually called that early in the episode.
You did call that. I was not getting that vibe, but then she says something.
She says, "When are you going to start seeing me as more than just a coworker or something?" Which could be like
because she has lots of cats.
Yeah, which
very
could,
appealing,
and that might not necessarily be romantic in nature, I guess. Like, but I think that it's implied that it is.
So at least it gives that character something to go to.
Yeah, like a point of being in the show, I guess.
Yeah.
Outside of just like some.
Yeah.
Like
just like being in Dushik's way.
Exactly. There was a reason that like she was like introduced as a person in the show.
Yes. Where do we think this is going? Because we did not end on much of a cliffhanger at all.
No. Well, the cliffhanger. I mean, in the preview for the next episode, she's like, "Let me handle my past with the director, my friend, and then we can worry about our future together."
Yeah.
So I think that like they're gonna come to this understanding where like, yeah, we like each other, but we're not gonna like go full on into like a relationship right now. We can just like do what we've been doing, and she wants to like make sure that the director guy isn't like upset and that she can maintain that friendship.
Right.
Because if they probably like go around like all like in love all over the town and he's there, it's probably going to be a little off-putting and like she doesn't want to like lose that like friendship. Yeah. So I think there's going to be still maybe a little bit more like them being like together but like not, and like the gossip, and it's probably going to like get to them in some way, like that kind of tension where people are talking about them.
Right.
Or maybe like her and the director hang out and there's like rumors going around, but like Dushik knows, but he can't like talk about the truth, kind of like that. I think there might be like that kind of tension.
Sure,
around.
That could be a good conflict. I think these were my two favorite episodes yet.
Yeah,
these were a good 2 episodes. It was feel good. There was a little bit of like intensity, but it gets resolved real quick, like the show does. And we'll see what happens, because this show is just like for instance when they went to Seoul. Like when they started talking about going to Seoul, I figured, okay, the next episode they'll go to Seoul. But it's always like we're going to Seoul. They're going to Seoul. It's like okay. So we'll see. There's probably like 6 more episodes. We don't know for sure, right?
I think it lists 16 on Netflix. Oh, okay. They're just not like there yet.
We got a lot of time for more drama to happen.
That's what I'm worried about. Is like we hit this point at the end of episode 10 where they have confessed their love, and like you're thinking, okay, they're gonna start a relationship now. What is gonna happen in the last 6 episodes? There's that something bad is gonna happen, and there's gonna be like some sort of like questioning of the relationship, and that's the part that's gonna hurt to watch. I think like the parts that there's gonna be something that happens that makes them question like, should we really be together?
Right.
And then I just wonder,
something that's gonna take her away from the town, and he doesn't want to leave the town. Something like that.
Yeah, that's true. Like something that puts them at odds.
Yeah. There's some external factors that could come back. That first guy that was a creep in the dentist's office talked about his dad being a big wig.
Yeah.
Something like that could come back. It makes her life difficult. And then also like her former boss could potentially have some implication making her life difficult in the future. Well, we will see next time. And we'll be making another video for the next batch of episodes next weekend. So make sure you tune in for those. Subscribe, turn notifications on. You won't miss a future video. If you did enjoy this video, leave a like. Also, let us know what you thought about this episode in a comment down below. We would love to hear your thoughts about the show in general. And I guess that's going to be it. We'll see you all next week. For now, my name's Nick.
And I'm Joe.
And we're Nick and Joe.